You there, the black girl in the back with the cheap uniform. Come up here now. Chase Hendricks's voice sliced through the Orpheum Theater. 500 guests turned, 2 million viewers watched online. Zara Williams was 11 years old. Her hands trembled. I'm sorry, sir. I didn't mean save it. He grabbed her shoulder, dragged her into the spotlight. Let's see if you can actually sing or if you're just taking up space. He snapped at his band, give her higher ground. The impossible note that made me $2 million. He leaned close, microphone off, but hers still on. Fell quietly, kid. The audience held its breath. What she did next didn't just prove him wrong. It ended everything he'd built on lies. 4 hours earlier, Zara had stood in that same theater with her stomach tied in knots. She lived in Compton with her mother and 2 younger brothers in a 2-bedroom apartment where the heater only worked in one room. Her mother was a nurse who worked night shifts at County General, sleeping during the day in stolen 3-hour blocks while Zara made mac and cheese for her brothers and helped them with homework. Money was always the question. Can we afford it? Not this month. Maybe next year. Zara had been singing since she was 5, standing in the second row of the New Hope Baptist Church choir every Sunday. By 7, her choir director, Ms. Johnson, had pulled her mother aside after service. Your daughter has perfect pitch, Ms. Johnson had said. 1 in 10,000 people can identify any note just by hearing it. She hears things the rest of us can't. Her mother had smiled, proud but tired. What do we do with that? Barclay Juilliard professional training. Ms. Johnson paused. It costs money we don't have, so Zara sang at church. She sang in the school choir at Jefferson Elementary where the music budget had been cut 3 years running. She sang in her room at night quietly, teaching herself runs from YouTube videos on her mother's old phone. Her range was unusual. D3 chest voice to G6 whistle register. Those impossibly high notes that sounded like wind chimes. She didn't know this was rare, she just knew it felt right. When the letter came saying Jefferson Elementary had been selected for Chase Hendricks's charity gala, the whole school erupted. 20 choir students would perform as background vocals, real stage, television. Zara's mother bought her a new white blouse from the discount store, tags still attached until that morning in case they needed to return it. Chase Hendricks was famous for these galas, one every year in a different city, raising money for underprivileged schools, posing for photos with kids who looked like they needed saving. The press called him generous. His brand was built on being the voice of a generation. For platinum albums, to Grammys, endorsement deals with Pepsi and Nike, and at the center was that signature note, the whistle register C6 at the end of higher ground that no one else could hit. Except during soundcheck that afternoon, Zara had heard something that didn't make sense. The choir had been waiting backstage, instructed to stay quiet while Chase rehearsed. Zara had wandered near the wings, curious, wanting to see the stage. And she'd heard him attempt the bridge of higher ground. He'd started strong. His voice was good, trained, polished, expensive sounding. But when he reached for that famous high note, something broke. His voice cracked around A5, to full steps below where it should have been. He'd stopped, frustrated, and snapped at his sound engineer. Bring the track up higher on that section. I need more support. The engineer nodded, adjusted something, and when Chase sang it again, the note was perfect. Too perfect, it didn't sound like it was coming from his throat. It sounded like it was coming from the speakers. Zara stood there confused. She had perfect pitch. She could hear the difference between a live voice and a recording. She could hear the slight digital shimmer, the way the notes sat on top of the music instead of inside it. That perfect C6 wasn't Chase Hendricks, it was a backing track. She'd gone back to the choir risers and said nothing. Who would believe an 11-year-old girl from Compton over a man who'd sold 4 million albums? But now, standing under the spotlight with his hand gripping her shoulder with 2 million people watching and his whispered threats still ringing in her ears, Zara understood something else. He knew she'd heard him at soundcheck. This wasn't about giving her a moment to shine. This was about making sure no one would ever believe her if she told the truth. The band started playing. The opening chords of Higher Ground filled the theater. Zara's mouth went dry. I don't think I can, she started. Sure you can, sweetheart. Chase's voice was loud for the audience. Just follow the music. But Higher Ground wasn't easy. The verse sat comfortable, but the bridge climbed relentlessly toward that signature whistle register C6 that had made Chase Hendricks famous. The note Zara now knew he couldn't actually sing. Chase stepped back, giving her room to fail. "Whenever you're ready," he said. Zara took a breath. Her grandmother's voice echoed from that morning. "Baby, if someone tries to make you small, you stand tall." She opened her mouth to sing, but stopped. "Mr. Hendricks." Her voice was small, but carried through the microphone. Chase's smile tightened. "Yes. Can you turn off the backing track, please?" The theater went silent. Chase blinked. "What?" "The backing track, can you turn it off? I want to sing it for real." Confused murmurs rippled through the audience. Chase's smile froze. "The backing track is part of the arrangement, sweetheart." "But you sang it without the track at sound check," Zara said. Her heart pounded. "You sang it alone." The murmur grew louder. Chase's jaw tightened. "Sound check is different from performance." "Then can you sing it first? Show me how without the track." The question hung in the air. Chase stared at her. The audience stared. The camera zoomed in. "Excuse me. I want to learn from you," Zara said, her voice still respectful but firm. "Sing it without the backing track so I can hear how you do it." 3 seconds of silence. Then Chase laughed sharp. "You want me to audition for you?" "No, sir. I just want to see if you can actually hit the note." The theater erupted. Gasps, scattered laughs. Chase's face flushed red. "Of course I can hit the note. I've been hitting it for 15 years. Then show me." Chase's mouth opened, closed, his hand flexed. "Fine," he said through his teeth. "You want a demonstration." He turned to his sound engineer. "Kill the backing track, all of it." The engineer hesitated. "Do it." The engineer pressed a button. The music then exposed. Chase raised his microphone and began to sing. Chase's voice filled the theater, strong at first. Confident, he moved through the verse with ease, his years of training evident in every controlled breath, every smooth transition. The audience relaxed slightly. Maybe this was just a misunderstanding. Maybe the kid was wrong. Then he reached the bridge. The melody climbed. E for G for B4. Chase's voice followed, still solid, still controlled. But as the notes pushed higher, something changed. His neck tensed. His shoulders rose slightly, betraying the strain. D5, E5, A5. And then he reached for the C6. His voice cracked. It broke somewhere around a sharp, a full step and a half below the target, the sound splintering like glass. He stopped abruptly, coughed, tried to cover it with a laugh. "Sorry folks, dry throat." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "That's why we use the track to protect the voice during long shows." But Zara had heard enough, and so had everyone else. "You didn't hit it," she said quietly. Chase turned to her, his smile now a thin line. "I told you my voice is tired." "But on your album, you hit that note 27 times, Zara said. Her voice was growing stronger now, fueled by something she didn't fully understand yet. "I counted, and in every live video online, you hit it perfectly every single time." The audience shifted. Phones came out. People started looking at each other. "What are you trying to say?" Chase's voice had an edge now, the smooth veneer cracking. "I have perfect pitch," Zara said. "I can hear frequencies. The note on your album, it's 1046.5 Hz. That's C6. But what you just sang was 932 Hz. That's a sharp 5. Someone in the audience whispered. "Is she right?" Chase's face reddened. "Listen, little girl." And the voice on the album, Zara continued, her words tumbling out now, unstoppable. "It doesn't sound like you. It's a woman's voice. I looked up your album credits. It says Sophia Mitchell. Additional vocals." The theater exploded in whispers. Chase stepped toward her, no longer smiling. "You need to stop talking right now." "Why?" Zara asked. And for the first time, since she'd been dragged onto that stage, she felt something other than fear. "Because I'm telling the truth. Because you're 11 years old and you don't know what you're talking about. I know what I heard at soundcheck. I know what I'm hearing now." Zara looked out at the audience, at the cameras, at the 2 million people watching. "That note isn't yours. You've been lip-syncing it for 15 years. Chase's hand shot out and grabbed her arm. Not hard enough to hurt, but hard enough to control. "We're done here." But before he could pull her off stage, a voice came from the wings. "Actually, she's right." Everyone turned. A man stepped into the light, Chase's sound engineer, the one who'd been running the board all night. His face was pale but determined. "I've been your engineer for 5 years, Chase. Every single show, I've played that backing track. You've never sung that note live. not once. The theater went completely silent. Chase's grip on Zara's arm loosened. He stared at his engineer like the man had just driven a knife into his back. "You're fired," Chase whispered. "I know," the engineer said. "But she's 11 years old, and she's braver than I've been for 5 years." The silence in the theater was absolute. 500 people held their breath. 2 million watched online. Chase Hendricks stood frozen. His sound engineer had just destroyed him in front of the world. "This is ridiculous," Chase said, his voice shaking. "You're going to believe some kid over me. I have 2 Grammys. I've sold 4 million albums." "Then prove her wrong," someone shouted from the audience. "Sing the note." Chase's face went from red to white. "I just did." "No, you didn't. You cracked. We all heard it." The crowd was turning. Chase looked at Zara standing there in her discount store blouse and something ugly twisted in his chest. "Fine," he said. "You think you're so smart. You sing it right now. No preparation, no warm-up, no second chances." Zara's hands trembled. This was the moment where she either proved herself or became exactly what Chase said she was. Ms. Johnson's voice carried from the choir section. "You can do this, baby. Sing like you do at church." Zara closed her eyes, took a breath, felt the air fill her lungs, felt her diaphragm expand, felt every lesson she'd learned in that small Baptist church settle into her bones. She opened her eyes and nodded to the band. They started again, the intro to Higher Ground for the second time that night, but everything was different now. Zara began to sing. Her voice started soft, almost tentative. The first verse was low, comfortable, well within her range. She focused on the words, on the story the song was telling. Some people in the audience exchanged glances. She was good, sure, but nothing special yet. Then she reached the pre-chorus. Her voice opened up, gaining power without losing control. There was something raw and honest in her tone that hadn't been there in Chase's polished performance. She wasn't performing, she was testifying. The verse climbed higher, D5, E5, F5, her voice followed effortlessly, each note pure and clear. No strain visible. Chase shifted his weight. His jaw tightened. The bridge approached. This was where he'd failed. Zara didn't hesitate. She shifted registers smoothly, moving from chest voice to head voice without a break. G5, A5, B5. The audience sat up straighter and then she reached for the C6. It came out clean. No crack, no strain, no trick. Just a pure sustained whistle register note that rang through the theater like a bell. She held it for 4 seconds and the sound was crystalline. Perfect. Impossible. Someone in the front row gasped, but Zara wasn't done. She took the note higher, D6, E6, F6, into territory that Chase's backing track had never even attempted. Her face was calm, almost serene, as she explored the upper reaches of her range with the confidence of someone who'd lived there her whole life. Then she brought it back down, F6 to C6 to A5 to F5, each transition seamless, each note a small miracle. She finished the bridge and moved into the final chorus, her voice now fully open, no longer hiding, no longer afraid. When she sang the last word and let it fade into silence, nobody moved. Then the theater erupted. 500 people on their feet, screaming, applauding, some with tears streaming down their faces. The Jefferson Elementary Choir was jumping. Ms. Johnson had both hands over her mouth. The online stream exploded. Within 30 seconds, 50,000 people had shared the video. Within a minute, Zara Williams was trending worldwide. Zara stood in the spotlight, breathing hard, not quite believing what had just happened. Chase Hendricks looked like he'd been struck. His face had gone gray. Yolanda Carter, a legendary R&B singer sitting as a judge in the front row, stood up. She was crying. That, Yolanda said, her voice thick with emotion, is the best thing I've heard from an 11-year-old in my entire career. Baby, you didn't just hit that note, you owned it. The applause grew louder. Marcus Webb, another judge, a music producer who'd worked with Alicia Keys and Kendrick Lamar, was shaking his head. I need to say something. He stood up. I've been in this industry for 30 years, and what we just witnessed was an 11-year-old child singing a note that the man who made it famous couldn't actually hit. The audience went quiet, the weight of his words settling over them. Marcus turned to the crowd. That album track, I mixed it. I was there. And Zara's right. That's not Chase's voice. That's Sophia Mitchell. She's a session singer in Atlanta. She was paid $2,000 and asked to sign an NDA. She never got proper credit. Chase tried to speak, but no sound came out. I stayed quiet because that's what you do in this industry, Marcus continued. You protect the star. You protect the money. But I'm done protecting lies, especially when an 11-year-old has more courage than I've had in 3 decades. The theater exploded. Journalists typing furiously, audience members shouting questions, cameras abandoning fixed positions. Chase finally found his voice. This is insane. You're going to destroy my career over a backing track. Everyone uses them, but they don't claim they're singing live. Yolanda shot back. They don't sell tickets to live performances and then lip sync. That's fraud, Chase. I'm not. I didn't. Chase sputtered, looking around for support, but his band members were looking away. His manager was on his phone, probably calling lawyers. Chase turned to Zara, and for a moment, she saw something in his eyes that made her step back. Rage, yes, but also fear. You're going to regret this, he said quietly, just loud enough for her microphone to catch. You end your little school and you're nobody teacher. I will make sure you never work in this industry. Do you understand me? Never. The threat hung in the air, caught by every camera. Ms. Johnson started to rise from her seat, but Zara spoke first. I'm 11 years old, she said, her voice steady. I don't work in the industry. I just sing because I love it. And you can't take that away from me. She paused, then added, but maybe someone should take it away from you. The theater went silent. Then someone started a slow clap, then another. Within seconds, 500 people were applauding, not for Chase Hendricks, but for a child who'd refused to lie. Chase looked around at the cameras, at the ruins of everything he'd built. Then he walked off stage. The moment his foot hit the wings, the theater erupted again. People were on their phones. The live stream chat was moving too fast to read. Someone shouted, check Twitter. He's already trending. Not Zara Williams anymore. Chase Hendricks exposed. Chase Hendricks fraud. Chase Hendricks lies over. Within 5 minutes, his Wikipedia page had been edited. Within 10, major music blogs were posting articles with headlines like famous singer exposed by 11-year-old. Within 15, 3 of his sponsors had issued statements saying they were reviewing their relationship with him. Zara stood on that stage surrounded by chaos she'd created simply by telling the truth and felt something she'd never felt before. Not pride exactly, not triumph, just the quiet certainty that she'd done the right thing. Even though she had no idea what would come next, the chaos lasted 20 minutes before security cleared the theater. Zara sat backstage in a folding chair, Ms. Johnson's arm around her shoulders, watching adults argue in urgent whispers. Event organizers, Chase's management team, people in expensive suits talking into phones. Nobody was talking to her. Her mother had called 3 times from the hospital. Couldn't leave her shift. Baby, what happened? Are you okay? Zara didn't know how to answer. What had happened was that she'd destroyed a famous man's career in 3 minutes. Whether she was okay was unclear, and yes, she wanted her mother, but County General was 40 minutes away, and her mother couldn't afford to lose this shift. I'm fine, Mama. Miss Johnson is here. That had been an hour ago. Now it was nearly midnight. The other choir kids had gone home. The theater was empty except for crew breaking down equipment. Zara was still sitting in that folding chair, waiting. That's when Chase's lawyer arrived. He was a white man in his 50s, wearing a suit that probably cost more than Zara's mother made in 6 months. He carried a leather briefcase and had a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Miss Williams, he said, pulling up a chair. I'm Robert Kraft. I represent Mr. Hendricks. Miss Johnson's arm tightened. She's 11 years old. If you want to talk to her, her mother needs to be present. Of course, I'm not here to interrogate anyone. I'm here to resolve this unfortunate misunderstanding. There's no misunderstanding, Miss Johnson said. Your client can't sing the notes he's famous for. That's fraud. Kraft's smile didn't waver. The music industry is complex. Artists use vocal support, backing tracks, studio enhancement. It's standard. What happened tonight was a young girl making serious accusations without understanding the professional context. I understand that he lied, Zara said quietly. Kraft turned to her. No, sweetheart, you misunderstood. And unfortunately, that's caused Mr. Hendricks significant harm. His sponsors are threatening to pull out. His tour dates are in jeopardy. Millions of dollars in damages. The word damages hung like a threat. Are you threatening to sue an 11-year-old? Ms. Johnson's voice was ice. Not at all. We're hoping to avoid legal action, which is why I'm here with a solution. He opened his briefcase, pulled out a document. If Zara signs this, we can all move forward. Ms. Johnson took the paper. Her face grew darker with each line. This says she made false accusations, that she apologizes, that she was seeking attention. It's a mutual agreement, Kraft said. In exchange, Mr. Hendricks will not pursue legal action, and as goodwill, he'll personally fund a music scholarship for Zara. Sophia held up a document. This is my contract. This is proof. And I am done staying silent while a child gets attacked for exposing what I was too afraid to expose. The video had been posted 8 minutes ago. Already 50,000 views. Within an hour, 2 million. Within 3 hours, 7 more session singers came forward. Each with contracts, each with recordings, each confirming what Zara had said. By noon, the narrative had flipped. Chase Hendricks exposed was trending with proof, not speculation. Zara sat on her worn couch, watching the internet tear apart the man who tried to destroy her. She wasn't alone anymore. Chase Hendricks wasn't going down quietly. By that afternoon, his legal team had filed a $10 million defamation lawsuit, not just against Zara, against Sophia Mitchell, against Marcus Webb, the producer who'd spoken up at the gala, against Jefferson Elementary School for allowing a minor to make false public accusations. $10 million. Zara's mother stared at the legal document that had been hand-delivered to their apartment at 3:00 p.m. Her hands shook so badly she could barely hold the paper. We don't have money for a lawyer, she whispered. We don't have money for anything. The lawsuit was strategic, designed not to win, but to terrify. Chase's team knew that even if they lost, the legal fees alone would bankrupt everyone involved. It was a weapon, and they were wielding it with precision. But the counterattack went deeper than lawsuits. By 4:00 p.m., gossip sites were running coordinated stories. Sources close to the Williams family claimed that Zara's mother had pushed her daughter to confront Chase, that the whole thing had been planned to extort money. One article included quotes from former neighbors, saying the family was known for playing victim and looking for handouts. None of it was true, all of it was published. By 5:00 p.m., Zara's school was under siege. Not just reporters now, but angry Chase Hendricks fans, teenagers and adults standing outside Jefferson Elementary with signs. Liars, frauds, leave Chase alone. The principal called an emergency meeting. Zara and her mother sat across from him in his office, and he looked like he'd aged 10 years overnight. I'm sorry, he said, but the school board is considering suspending Zara pending investigation. Investigation of what? Zara's mother demanded. She told the truth. You saw the video. Everyone saw it. The board is concerned about the attention, the threats. We've had to increase security. Parents are calling, worried about their children's safety. He rubbed his face. And Chase Hendricks's lawyers are threatening to sue the district for negligence. They're saying we failed to supervise Zara. She wasn't on school time. Ms. Johnson interjected from the corner where she'd been standing. She was at an evening event. It was a school-sanctioned event. The principal said the choir was there representing Jefferson Elementary, which means legally we're liable. Zara felt her chest tighten. So, I'm being suspended because I told the truth. You read being suspended because the school can't afford to fight a lawsuit from Chase Hendricks's legal team. The principal's voice was heavy with regret, but the words still landed like stones. I'm sorry, Zara. I truly am. But the board meets tomorrow and I don't think I can protect you. They left the school through a back entrance to avoid the cameras. At home, the apartment phone wouldn't stop ringing. Reporters' threats. Someone claiming to be from Child Protective Services saying they'd received reports that Zara's mother was exploiting her child. It was fake. CPS didn't work like that, but it was effective. Every call was a small knife. Zara's brothers were scared. They didn't understand why angry people were outside their building. Why their sister was on TV. Why everything felt like it was falling apart. That night, Zara's mother sat on the edge of her bed. Her eyes were red from crying. Baby, I need to ask you something. Her voice was barely above a whisper. If you could take it back, would you? Zara thought about the question, about the $50,000 scholarship she'd refused, about the reporters outside their building, about her school suspending her, about the threats and the lies and the $10 million lawsuit that could destroy their lives. "No," she said finally, "I wouldn't take it back." Her mother closed her eyes and a tear slid down her cheek. "Then we fight. I don't know how, but we fight." But fighting seemed impossible when the enemy had unlimited money and unlimited reach. At midnight, Zara lay awake in the bed she shared with her brothers, listening to them breathe in their sleep. She thought about Chase Hendricks in his mansion somewhere in the Hollywood Hills, probably sleeping peacefully, protected by lawyers and money, and the knowledge that the system was built to protect people like him. She thought about how easy it would be to give up, to sign the paper his lawyer had offered, to say she was sorry for telling the truth. And then she thought about Sophia Mitchell, who'd been silent for 15 years before finding the courage to speak. About Marcus Webb, who'd stayed quiet for 3 decades before standing up. About the 7 other session singers who'd come forward, risking their own careers. They'd all been afraid, but they'd spoken anyway because someone had to. Even if that someone was just an 11-year-old girl who refused to lie. Zara closed her eyes and tried to sleep, knowing tomorrow would be worse, not knowing that tomorrow would bring something she never expected. Help! The knock came at 7 in the morning. Zara's mother answered cautiously, expecting reporters. Instead, she found a woman in her 40s, professionally dressed, carrying a briefcase. "Mrs. Williams, my name is Diana Carter. I'm an entertainment attorney. I'd like to represent your daughter." "Pro bono." Zara's mother blinked. "I'm sorry, what? No charge?" "Sophia Mitchell hired our firm to defend her. When we heard Chase sued an 11-year-old child, 3 partners volunteered to take Zara's case. May I come in?" Within an hour, their kitchen table was covered with documents. Diana worked quickly, pen moving across legal pads. "Chase's lawsuit is garbage," she said bluntly. "Defamation requires false statements." Everything Zara said was true. He won't win. But he knows that this is intimidation, not litigation. "So what do we do?" Zara's mother asked. "We counter-sue fraud. False advertising, breach of contract with ticket holders." Diana looked up. "We make it a class action. Make it too expensive for him to continue." A second knock interrupted them. Ms. Johnson entered with Marcus Webb, the producer who'd exposed Chase on stage. Chase's lawyers had gone after him, too. "I've been in this industry 30 years, Marcus said. "I've watched powerful people crush careers. But I've also watched movements start." He pulled out his phone. "Look at this," and believe Zara was trending, exploding. Alicia Keys had tweeted, "Protect that child. Listen to her truth." John Legend announced he was covering legal fees if needed. Kelly Clarkson, Fantasia, Jennifer Hudson, all speaking up. "You're not alone," Marcus said. The third knock came at 9 a.m. Rachel Goldstein from 60 Minutes. "I'd like to do a story," Rachel said. "An investigation. Chase's career, his pattern of credit theft, the industry that protected him. I want to tell the whole story." "Why?" Zara's mother asked suspiciously. "Because I have a daughter your age," Rachel said quietly. "And if someone tried to silence her for telling the truth, I'd want someone to help." By noon, the apartment was full. Diana's paralegal had arrived with documents. 2 of Sophia's industry contacts offered statements. Ms. Johnson was coordinating with Jefferson Elementary teachers who wanted to support Zara publicly. Then Sophia Mitchell herself arrived. She wasn't what Zara expected. In videos, Sophia looked polished. In person, she looked tired, human, scared. She sat next to Zara and took her hand. "I was 23 when I signed that NDA," Sophia said. "I needed the money. I needed the credit. And when they buried my name where nobody would see it, I told myself it was fine, just business." She paused. "I told myself that lie for 15 years until I watched an 11-year-old refuse to lie at all." "I'm scared," Zara admitted. "Me, too," Sophia said. "But we're scared together now. That's different." By evening, the narrative was shifting, not just on social media, but in major outlets. The New York Times session singer speaks out the hidden voices behind pop music. Rolling Stone was preparing an expose on Chase's entire catalog. Billboard was investigating how many other artists had similar arrangements. The story had grown beyond Zara. It was about people whose work was stolen, whose talent was used and discarded, whose names were erased so others could shine. Jefferson Elementary's principal called. The school board had voted. Zara wasn't being suspended. Instead, They were declining Chase's donation and issuing a public statement supporting Zara's right to speak truth. "We don't want money from someone who attacks children." That night, a GoFund appeared. Not from Zara's family, from parents at Jefferson Elementary, from community members, from strangers who'd seen the videos. The goal was $50,000 to replace Chase's donation. It raised $300,000 in 6 hours. Zara sat on her couch watching donations scroll past, reading messages from people she'd never met. Teachers, musicians, parents, kids her age who said she'd inspired them. Her mother read from her phone, voice thick, "I'm a session musician in Nashville. I've had my work stolen for 20 years. Watching Zara gave me courage to demand proper credit. Thank you, brave girl." Marcus had been right. This was bigger than one lawsuit, one career, one scared child. This was a movement. And Zara Williams, 11 years old, 4'7" tall, was at its center, not because she'd wanted attention or money or fame, but because she'd done the simplest, hardest thing in the world. She'd refused to lie. The courtroom was smaller than Zara had imagined. Los Angeles Superior Court, Department 23, with wood-paneled walls and fluorescent lights that hummed. 30 people filled the gallery.